You're listening to Three's a Crowd, the Nrth East Footy Podcast, with Rye for Boro, Steve for Newcastle United, and Ted for Sunderland.
Good morning, beautiful people around the world. Welcome to the Top of the League podcast and two other loads that just joined me to celebrate the amazing fortune that is Middlesbrough Football Club. Welcome on back to Three's a Crowd podcast. It is me, Rye, joined by Ted the Mackham and Stevie Wraith. We have got so much football to talk about. Middlesbrough playing last night, Sunderland and Newcastle yet to come. We've got a Champions League fixture to discuss. So much more. Good morning to both of you. Teddy boy, out in the sun this morning.
Good morning. Yeah, but I've been cast outside. Mrs. Ted is on night shift this week, and apparently I make too much noise. So God knows what your poor wife thinks.
She loves me. And I've obviously been pushed down the end. We bought a new house, so I could go further away. Stevie, lad, good morning to you.
Morning, mate. Chucking it down in the northeast of England today. Complete contrast to the weather that Ted is experiencing. But yes, I'm going to spend the rest of my day building an ark.
Oh, Noah.
Yeah.
2 kangaroos, 2 black cats, 2 magpies.
Welcome on in. If you are just joining us, make sure you hit the like button. Consider subscribing to the channels as well at NFC Matters, at Ted the Mackham, or at Nrth to follow one of the best 3 Northeast clubs in the land, whatever your choosing may be. We have got so much to talk about. Let's kick it off with the first game that we saw midweek, which was the Champions League fixture between Newcastle and Barcelona. What an amazing night this was. Obviously, Newcastle qualifying for Champions League, seeing teams like Barcelona come to St. James's Park in an amazing display of tifos, celebration. What an amazing atmosphere Newcastle fans put on in a glorious spectacle. I got up early to watch this one, Stevie lad, and it was honestly a great game. Barcelona undoubtedly getting the win, obviously through Marcus Rashford, funny enough. Man United, are you good? Mally, are you listening? What have you done? But anyway, Marcus Rashford becoming the victor. Obviously, Thomas Tuchel was in the crowd watching him as well, but 2 fantastic moments for him. But a late consolation goal. And we were just talking before stream as well. We were, I thought Alanga had a fantastic game. I thought the German Peter Crouch holding the ball up, getting the goal. And obviously missing Wissa is starting to hurt a little bit.
Yeah, 100%, mate. It was a good game. Great atmosphere, as you've already said. War flags deserve a lot of praise for organising the display. Everybody getting into the ground nice and early as well, 7:45 to help with raising the flags and getting everything up there. I'm really pleased, just on a side note, that Newcastle have started to adopt AC/DC as their kind of band of choice. I think most fans love it, and it's amazing. And let's not forget, War Flags. It's donations to War Flags from fans that get these things going. So the club have helped in the past with certain things, but from our perspective, well done, War Flags. Great stuff, and certainly gave us the start that we needed. And the first 35 minutes was exceptional. And I turned to people that I was with at the match on the day and just said, we can't keep this up. We need to score. No team can keep this kind of high press up for 90 minutes. So, we need something out of it. And Alanga on that right-hand side, was exceptional. Alanga, of course, dropped for the previous game. Murphy finding himself back in the starting lineup, and Alanga just took his opportunity with both hands. He came to Newcastle. One of the main reasons he came to Newcastle was to play in the Champions League, a bit like Wissa, but he's going to have to wait. But yeah, he came to play in the Champions League, and it was absolutely brilliant to see him put in one of his best performances so far this season. The only sad thing was that we didn't have anybody on the end of it. But we did. They just didn't put the ball in the back of the net. We had Harvey Barnes, 2 pinpoint crosses from Alanga, both fell at Barnes. 2 great saves from the keeper. I do feel with the second one, if you just put it across the goalkeeper rather than making it easy and putting it at the near post, it would have been a different story. But if that goes in, great. Gordon misses a chance, completely misses it again from another great cross. That's 3 chances. Newcastle could have been 3-0 up. It's a different game. It's a different story. Newcastle coasting and Barcelona scratching their heads to wonder why they've ended up like this. But that's not what happened. Second half, couple of little changes in the midfield. De Jong and Pedri were exceptional. Take your hat off to them. But Eddie Howe as well did make changes and
Yeah.
got the changes right for me. I
Yeah.
liked what he did. He went for Barcelona in the first half. It didn't work out. So the second half, he goes for a different formation and he goes for, Voldemort, who, of course, had scored the winning goal against Wolves last weekend. So he goes for a change of direction, change of pace. But then, bang, we find ourselves a goal down. Rashford, brilliant header. Great approach, great cross, and a wonderful, wonderful header.
Yeah.
Probably has to take responsibility for that. However, as we do know, he ended up with concussion prior to that, and he probably hadn't recovered from the injury. So that was the reason he probably stepped off and gave him too much space. The second goal, brilliant. Great strike. Rashford's got that in his locker. Man United haven't been able to discover it, and that goal really just finished Newcastle's chances of getting anything out of that game. So, the consolation, it was deserved. I do think that Newcastle did enough in that game to get a draw, but it wasn't to be. But it's no disgrace losing 2-1 at home in the Champions League to the team that just lost out a last-minute goal in the semi-finals last year. A team which I hasten to add cost £1.11 billion to put together. That's their total market value. Yes, Newcastle's team isn't cheap, but they've got a little bit more money than Newcastle to spend. But on top of that, they've got a hell of a lot more experience in the Champions League. We're new starters in the Champions League compared to Barcelona. So no disgrace, not downhearted about that performance. In fact, I took a lot of positives from it. But the real work this week starts tomorrow when we play Bournemouth. We've got to go to Bournemouth because the only way that you get better in the Champions League is by being in it every year. So Newcastle's biggest cup final, the biggest game this week is Bournemouth tomorrow. Yeah. We need to go there. We need to get a point, 3 points, whatever, and continue that run.
Climbing that table.
Keep going, mate. That's it. Simple as that.
Yeah, no, look, it was a fantastic midweek game, Teddy boy. Obviously, Champions League football for one of us. I mean, we're soon to come. We'll be versing Barcelona next year. That's how good we are. I don't know about Sunderland, but you've probably bought your way through into the Champions League the way you guys are traveling as well. So 3 North East teams in Champions League next season is going to be pretty hot. But honestly, it was a massive game for the North East, especially. Obviously, forgetting the rivalry aside, to bring Barcelona to the North East to see them at St. James's Park. Was a fantastic outing. Obviously, War Flags putting on a fantastic display. Tough game for Newcastle. Barcelona out, obviously, with worth millions and trillions. Obviously, Yamal and Rashford incredibly as well. Was a good watch, mate. But Marcus Rashford had a day out.
He did. I'd be so frustrated if I was a Man United fan, but I'm not from Surrey, so I'm not. He's like Steve said, he's got that in his locker. And I'd be just so frustrated as to, well, where's that been? Because it really was a very good performance. Not just the goals, his overall performance I thought was excellent. And I was thinking, as I was watching it, isn't Rashford the sort of player that Newcastle could actually really do with? He's only on loan at Barcelona. If he continues to turn in performances like that, I'm sure they're going to want a bit more of a permanent deal. But somebody like Rashford and someone like Eddie Howe can unlock that potential. Who's a good man manager who kind of get Rashford concentrating on his football, which I just don't think he's been able to do at Man United. There's been
£200 a week. We can't afford
£200 a week.
Another season in the Champions League, and you might get it, Steve. It's like you say, mate. It's about staying there, and it's about qualifying again next year, and that's when you can start and increase that budget range and bring in players like that. Because Rashford's got tons of European football experience. He's got a lot of international experience as well. I really like when players go abroad and kind of learn a different kind of football, like what Harry Kane's doing. You look at Harry Kane now. I think Harry Kane's getting better as a result of actually experience in other clubs. But yeah, getting back to the game, looking at it objectively, take me red and white glasses off for a second and pretend it's not Newcastle, because it made me sick how good they were in the first 35 minutes, to be honest.
Chris was a fan.
We'll come to that. Let's just keep that powder dry, son. No, listen, first 35 minutes, we said it before we went on air. I think if Newcastle scored one of those chances in the opening half hour, I think they would have won the game. I think the pressure that they were putting Barcelona under was immense. Like, say, a couple of good saves here and there. Maybe not as clinical as you would like from somebody like Gordon, but he's a winger. He's not a finisher. He's a winger. He can finish at times, but if you're going to put your mortgage on it, you want somebody like a Wissa, or dare I say it, an Alexander Isak, but that's all gone now for certain. Yeah, exactly. He did nout the other night as well. So I thought Newcastle were excellent. Very strange that they've adopted an Australian band. I don't get that right. I don't know whether that's a little nod towards you. I know he's from heaven.
Steve's maybe quite large at St. James's Park. I know they've heard of me. So
he's from Johnston, actually, Brian Johnston.
Heaven, isn't he?
He's a Johnston lad.
Is he? Really? I didn't know that. I thought it was heaven.
Yeah, no, it is. It is good to see, and I honestly, the spectacle was fantastic. And I thought
it was class.
Just to finish it off as well, I thought Chow, when he came on, was fantastic. When Newcastle were forced to make it into a back three, obviously Shah coming off with injury, I thought he was class. He was different gravy with the back heels, and he did a little 180, going around, De Jong and stuff like that. Thought he was class. And then you saw when Anthony Gordon, just like you said, Teddy boy, he's a natural winger. As soon as Anthony Gordon was moved back out to let the German Peter Crouch come along, I thought it was
Peter Crouch.
Natural. Yeah, Peter Crouch.
See what I did?
Oh, that's well done. Well done. I'm proud of that. I'm very happy with that. But honestly, it was a fantastic night, and obviously more Champions League nights to come yet, Stevie lad. And it was a good one to get underway. Let's get on to Middlesbrough, who played last night, top of the championship. I said top of the league. What? Top of the league. Middlesbrough continued their fantastic form home at the Riverside last night against a mighty West Brom, who came to play. West Brom sat in the driver's seat, I must say, for most of the game. Middlesbrough weren't the most spectacle game, but I tell you what, when you can win ugly, it's starting to show good signs. And Rob Edwards has got this team absolutely firing, making subs at half-time, continuing his game management, showing an absolute knout for what we were missing for so long under Michael Carrick, and his tactics, his game plans. He's taking off the top our scorer in the first half in David Strelic to bring on another goal scorer in the second half. Honestly, lads, Rob Edwards has galvanised our town, our club, in some way that I've never seen before. I mean, he goes the whole lap after every game, clapping the fans, going up. We had a great little kickoff before as well with the kids suffering from cancer. All the players got to take a kid that was suffering from cancer out for the lineup, which I think was an absolutely special moment for those and their families. And then we just put on a fantastic performance in what was a counter-attacking display, because we let West Brom play their game. We sat back. We were able to weather the storm. Jed Wallace, even though he's 56 years old, is still doing all good things for West Brom down the right wing, and still getting the ball into where it needs to be. And Middlesbrough were able to weather that. And I thought defensively we were masterclass. Bill Ayling, who has just found a new lease of life, moving to centre back. And then Middlesbrough were able to weather the storm. Teddy boy, I know you were watching along because you're a secret Boro fan at heart. It was a fantastic performance on a Friday night, mate, at the Riverside. The Smoggies are here to stay, mate, at the top of the league.
Secret Borough fan. I mean, I was helping you out with your watch along. I was trying to add some facts.
I swear.
I swear. I'd prove it, but no. Let's try and keep the viewers we've got. No, listen, man, it was a great game. I really enjoyed it for the neutral. There was it was a tactical game, and I was quite impressed with what Rob Edwards did. It was again, we mentioned these things off air, but ugly wins are sometimes even better than when you play well. It was workmanlike. You dug in. It was West Brom kind of offer a different kind of threat to what a lot of teams do in the Championship, and you have got to be smart against them, because all right, they've kind of misfired in terms of not quite making it to the playoffs the last couple of seasons. Just they're an almost team. But on their day, they are very dangerous, and they've got very good players. Josh Madger, ex-Sunderland, up front, he's a decent striker, and he'll take chances. But I thought your defence were excellent. Luke Ayling had an iffy season last season, it has to be said. But maybe looking at it now, objectively, maybe he was being asked to do a job that he wasn't 100% comfortable with. Because under Edwards, he looks a different animal altogether. I thought Target was excellent until obviously he had to. Yeah, is there any news on the injury with that? Or
no? Well, it was incredible. Obviously, you're talking about that George Edmondson having to go off with what was a broken.
Oh, it was Edmondson. Sorry. That's it. Sorry, it was
and
Edmondson.
then Matty Target was able to move into a centre back role. Newcastle fans.
Yeah.
Matty Target was
did
obviously
really well.
Left wing back.
I told you what he was going to do.
Moved into centre back, and his versatility was incredible. He just became the best centre back, and he was fantastic. He was still moving the ball. Alfie Jones moving into the centre role, and Matty Target on his left, and he was fantastic. And then we saw the inclusion of Alan Brown come on just after half time, and mate, he is a workhorse. That bloke just does not stop running. He's not
spectacular, but
he's box to box. He's in where he needs to be. He slowed the game down when we needed it, and it was a fantastic. And I've got to say thank you to Newcastle and Sunderland, because honestly, two lads that have adopted to the best team in the world really quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be honest, it's special praise for Strelic as well, who took his chance, a proper striker's goal that as well. He's going to have some fun in that side, because they will create opportunities for him. And when you have a bit more freedom to play the way the Boro like to play football, I think we'll see goals from that guy 100%. You've just got to make sure that you now maintain this. Somebody made the comment in your watch along last night of it's going to hurt like hell when we eventually lose a game. And as much as it's a bit of a joke right now, because you don't look like losing them, it's going to be interesting to see how they do handle it when they do actually get one, because winning's a great habit, but losing games is also a nasty habit as well. And we've seen this too many times with Boro and Sunderland in the past, where they go on these peaks and troughs of runs. So let's hope that when the day does come, when they do suffer a defeat, that they just get back to it and show that level of consistency that we've done so far. Because honestly, I think you're getting promoted, and this will be an all Premier League podcast next season.
It's going to be absolutely incredible. Middlesbrough obviously losing to Doncaster as well in that cup game, and seemingly Rob Edwards was asked about that yesterday as well. It was like, how have we gone on such a good run and lose to Doncaster? And he said exactly that. It was a mentality thing, and it's done us a favour. It allowed us to focus on the league that we want to focus on. And it is going to be an interesting run now for Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough have not been looked after by the fixture gods. We now travel to Southampton for a Saturday game, then midweek back at home for Stoke at home. Then the next Saturday, back down to the south for Portsmouth away. So we've got Southampton away and Portsmouth away in the space of a week, with a midweek game at home to Stoke. Stevie, it's honestly dreamland for Boro fans at the moment under life with Rob Edwards. One thing that I must comment on is I loved Michael Carrick, but he is being outshone by Rob Edwards and Addy and Harry Watling, and three new coaches that are absolutely tactically and managing our games just somewhat incredibly well, mate. And one thing that I have to say is that when we are being coached this way, God, it feels good.
Yeah, we'll do. I mean, we said at the start of the season, you need to plan for the marathon, not a sprint. People who've tuned into this podcast for the last couple of years will know that's what I've always said about the Championship. And Newcastle prior to the takeover were just as much of a yo-yo team as Sunderland and Boro have been over the years. Yep. So we all know what the Championship's about, or the old First Division, as it was when we all started watching football. Yep. But it's about finding that kind of run of good results and finding that form and winning your home games and getting something away from home. I mean, it's not rocket science really to promotion, but that's what Middlesbrough have got to do. But the big thing you said at the start of the programme is you won, but you didn't play well, and that's another recipe for getting out of the Championship. Winning when you're not playing well, and by all accounts, it wasn't the best performance. When you look at the stats, 41% possession for Middlesbrough, 59 for West Brom. They had more of the ball, but it's what you do with it. And ultimately, the main stat is Middlesbrough scored 2 goals and West Brom only scored 1. But looking at last night, you were pretty on par with West Brom all the way through that game. You were quite evenly matched. So one would imagine that West Brom, who currently lie in 5th, only 6 points behind you, could be one of your rivals moving forward. Could be on your coattails. But the good thing is, I mean, you played first. You've got your game out of the way. And that puts pressure on the likes of Stoke and Bristol and Leicester and West Brom and Coventry. If you get that opportunity to play first, you can sit back and smoke a cigar this weekend because everybody else is now chasing your tail. Stoke, we've got a tough game. QPR away today. Leicester have got Coventry. It's when you start looking at the Championship, you think, God, there are so many Premier League teams in there now, what we would think are Premier League teams. So, listen, it's great. And I will hark back to it again. Matty Target, was always going to be a good signing. He's a really good player, and the word is versatile. When the chips are down and when there's an opportunity for you to move someone around because of an injury, Matty will do it, and it's great to see him jump in and do what he did last night and prove me right, because that's what he's all about. So he's a great signing for you this season, and I think you'll do very well. But Boro's doing well, top of the league, and I agree with Ted. I genuinely do think that Middlesbrough will come up this year, and it'll be a Premier League programme next year.
It's incredible to see. Obviously, 6 games in, there is a long way to go. Championship, obviously, a mentally and physical slog. One worry for Middlesbrough, obviously, is the injuries to our centre backs. We've lost 3 now to start the season out of a total of we can pick from 5. There is the Addison Melander, who is currently on loan back to Charlotte FC. Part of his deal to come to the Boro was that we would loan him back to finish up his MLS season. But a big worry for Middlesbrough now is the centre-back worries. We saw George Edmondson last night with an absolute shiner, like he'd done 6 rounds with Mike Tyson and come off worse. Couldn't open his right eye and had to be subbed off. Obviously, Dale Fry, our captain, he's been out with a calf injury, and we're not too sure what's happening with Darragh Lenihan. Rob Edwards speaking last night saying that we've got to manage his game after 2 years of missing football, coming back only last weekend to play a full 90 minutes. Well, he was missing. He wasn't even on the bench yesterday as well, which was interesting for Boro fans. There were rumours floating around on the forums and on the social media that Darragh Lenihan might have re-injured his Achilles. And if that's true, then we are getting to a few bare bones down at centre-back. So just like Steve said, Matty Target and his versatility to play at centre-back was essential to Boro as well. And we've also got Alan Brown, who we know filled in at right wing back for Sunderland last season as well. So, there is, and that's the key thing, is Boro have got a lot of versatility there, and that bench is absolutely incredible. So I'm really excited of where Middlesbrough are heading. We have got a tough test now for the next 2 weeks, though, and we'll get into that very shortly, but we're going to talk about that afterwards. But Teddy boy, obviously onto the Mackems. Before we get to everyone's cat that plays the keyboard, it's the time of the week. We got to talk just quickly about the Mackems, mate. Obviously, no cup football, no managing to just settle in. But I want to talk about what we were discussing before. Chrissy Rigg, mate. He's all over social media. Ex-Newcastle lad. Just liking to stir up the Newcastle fans here, mate. What's going on here with the picture that's now in front of everyone?
Well, if there's any sort of question about where his loyalties lie, I think that probably answers it now. Wound his dad up as much as anything. His dad's an absolutely huge Newcastle fan. So, yeah, Riggy showing himself off in his Barcelona shirt, giving it the thumbs up. Yeah, he'll get a few pelters for that, being the fact that, we'll get the have you ever seen a Mackem in Milan and all that sort of thing. But, yeah, a little bit of shithousery from Mr. Rigg there. And I'm sure he'll get told off by his dad for it. No end. Yeah,
he mustn't be on very good wage. Mustn't be on very good wages because he clearly hasn't got a cleaner.
It probably still fits him, Steve, to be honest. Like, he's not that big a lad, is he?
Yeah.
It's a all good bit of light-hearted stuff. I'm sure it's probably aimed at family rather than aiming at the Newcastle fans. It's all good banter. All good banter.
No, it was really good to see him on social media, and obviously the Max getting involved as well. One thing I wanted to ask you again before we get to the cat was Regis was asked this week about Enzo Laffi and how he can fit into this Sunderland squad. Enzo Laffi having a fantastic spell in the Championship, obviously stepping up to Premier League. He's kind of been floated around the left wing, but also in a central position. But Regis coming out and adamant saying that he's best in a central role for Sunderland, obviously. Do you agree with Regis? Obviously, do you see Enzo? I mean, we only saw it last season in the Championship here on the left wing, but a more central role is favoured by Regis for Enzo going forward.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's kind of like it's the Matty Target situation. It's great that these people are flexible players like that. And I mean, you remember the game at the Riverside, mate, where he played out in the left wing, and he was absolutely incredible.
I can't remember.
But this is, yes,
Don't recall.
I think he's got the corner flag above his fireplace. Nah, listen, he can play out left, but that's not his game. He's more suited to the number 10 role, and I think certainly when we get round to AFCON, I think we'll see that a lot more because obviously the likes of Noah Sadiq, he'll be away for maybe 2 or 8 games, so it depends on how well they do. So yeah, it's really important that we keep the players like that sharp and keep them involved. He had a little knock that ruled him out last week, but he's back in the squad for the Villa game tomorrow. He's one of these. He'll help out the team. And the other thing that Lefay's got in his locker, which nobody expected, he's like a little terrier. He can really snap into challenges. He's not afraid to put himself about a bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, listen, that's great to see that. But he's one of these, mate, where I think he'll just come in and do a job for the team. Same as what Mukiele is doing at the minute, where he's more of a right back, but he's playing in a centre back role. And
what about Talby as well? Just quickly, Talby obviously coming under fire a little bit of not being able to adapt so far to the Premier League. I think he's still got a big future. But obviously are you worried about Talby out on the right?
Nah, not at all. Yep. No, he's getting used to it, mate. He's very, very quick. He's come from the Belgian league, mate. And he's just kind of like, he's getting used to a new style of play. The Premier League is the biggest and best league in the world. And you're playing against top level defenders week in, week out. I mean, now, even if you look back 10 years ago, you wouldn't expect to be going to Selhurst Park, Crystal Palace, playing against an England centre-back there. The standard in the Premier League is just grown so much. And someone like Talby is just going to take his time to get there. And there's none of the fans, certainly that I've heard of, that's on his back or anything like that. We have got depth in that squad. Mayenda can play on the right. Isidore can play on the wings as well, which, to be honest, I think that's probably his best position, is coming in off the left wing with Isidore. So, yeah, you've got to be adaptable. You've got to be able to do a job for the coach and for the club. And we're starting to build a squad that's like that. And, getting back to it, Lefay is just one cog in an altogether bigger machine.
It's incredible to see, obviously. We will talk very, very soon about Sunderland and their home game against Aston Villa tomorrow, and obviously Newcastle travelling to Bournemouth. But before we do that, we need to get to everyone's favourite cat. It is time for Troll of the Week.
Thank you to everybody who sent these in this week. And Sunderland's keeper has just pissed me off, man. Decided to make constant world-class saves. Would have won that easily against most keepers. That's brilliant. That's the kind of stuff we're like. Some people do tend to send us lookalikes and stuff like that. Like this one. Ange Postecoglou's had enough of Nottingham Forest and has quit to become a postman. He now is referring to himself as Ange Postecoglu. Very good. And this club's an absolute joke. The amount of proper fans that are missing out just so John Ruddy can take his dad's and his dog is a liberty. Matty not very happy about 586 Union SJ tickets only being available. A few of the corporates have got some now. Yeah. Happy 30th birthday to renowned speaker and good footballer Jack Grealish. And I love these kind of things. Holding wood.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's almost as famous as the batsman's holding the bowler's willy commentary from cricket back in the day.
Yeah.
And this was brilliant. What's the difference between Bonnie Blue and West Ham this season? Well, Dan replies, one is absolutely disgusting, an embarrassment to the nation with zero morals or identity, allowing thousands of men weekly to queue up for hours to enter a soulless hole in the hopes of getting themselves some praise and attention. The other is Bonnie Blue. And I love it when people go out and get stuff from football clubs, usually illegally when they're closing down, and make them part of their man cave. So this is brilliant. This, by the way, look at this for a man cave from Hibernian FC.
Wow.
He's got the signs at the back. He's managed.
He
to
loves it.
That's fantastic. That
is incredible.
He's got the menu as well. That's absolutely exceptional. That. Well done, mate. Well done. Tattoos as well. Got a few tattoos. I never get sick of showing this one. Worst football tattoos. This one.
Oh, jeez. That's
honestly,
bad.
I bet the guy's glad it's on his back. And this one, honestly, what is that?
Manchester
United, it's Alex Ferguson, 1980. I mean, it's awful. Who was doing? I mean, it's the badge. Look at the badge.
Yeah.
Look at the badge. It's like felt tip.
I wrote
awful. That. Top 2 this week was this one. Please wipe your feet on the way in. To the social club in Newcastle.
Yep.
And we'll finish up with this. We're like animals on this show. Rod Stewart, though, smoking a cigar, lads. Hope you're having Nutella for your breakfast out there. That is your Troll of the Week this week. Get them in to me and the lads, and we'll feature them next week.
Welcome on back to Three's the Crowd, the Nrth East Football Podcast, the only Nrth East football podcast where we bring 3 teams who are rivals together to banter and talk football every Saturday. Make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already at Ted the Mackham, at Nrth, or at NFC Matters. Steve Wraith here joining us. So we're going to talk about Newcastle next, then we're going to get into Sunderland's fixtures, and obviously Middlesbrough playing last night. We will talk about their trip to Stoke, at home next weekend, Stoke, before we get into Southampton. I apologise, before Stoke. And we will get into that all in this next half hour. Let's kick it off with Newcastle's trip to Bournemouth tomorrow, coming away after a short break. Bournemouth is going to be a tough ask. It's going to be an interesting game for this one for me, Steve. Obviously, Newcastle sitting in 10th, having their first win, thank goodness, against Wolves, sliding back up that table now. But Bournemouth, who are sitting currently in 4th, have won 3 in the last 5. They're having a fantastic start to this season. And it's going to be a tough quest for Newcastle to go to Bournemouth and try and get a win out of this one, Steve.
Yeah, Bournemouth away isn't as bad as people think. I think a lot of people think, oh, bogey team, Bournemouth, etc. But Newcastle have had, a pretty decent run down there. If you take away the 2-0 defeat a couple of seasons ago, we tend to come away with a draw. Or 2019, 2020, we won 4-1 down there. So it's not a bad place. Our problems with Bournemouth always seem to be at St James's Park, because it's often seen as a game you should be winning. They tend to come up and do a job on us at St James's. So that's the downside. So I'm not going to this with as much trepidation maybe as some of the other fans are. But you're right, Bournemouth are doing very well at this moment in time.
Yeah.
I think their biggest asset is their manager. Andoni Iraola is somebody who is really just getting some great performances out of his team and out of his players at the moment. His biggest success this transfer window was keeping a hold of Semenyo, because that is their biggest threat. But they're very like Brighton. They're on the south coast. They're finding a way of bringing in players to adapt to the system and play in the Premier League after getting rid of a player. And it's like the conveyor belt of good players that they seem to scout and bring through the ranks, and then how they survive in the Premier League is by selling and continuing. So, for me, it's a challenge, because this again is the first time Newcastle will have played a game after the Champions League. We played Thursday, and we're going into a game on Sunday. This is what we've got to get used to. The bonus is we played at St James's Park. We haven't had to travel 4 or 5 hours across Europe and all of that. But it's a great opportunity for us to get another point or 3 points on the board. I think this one. Gordon serves the third and final game of his domestic ban today. Jacob Ramsey, Johan Wissa both out. Although the good news on that is that they probably will be back for the 18th of October for the Brighton game. So we now have a date. It's a month away, but we've got a date for their return. Fabian Shaw will miss this game and the Bradford and Arsenal game next week because of the concussion. And Kieran Trippier is a doubt as well. He limped off during the Champions League defeat. But back four, we're not struggling, lads. We've got Tino Livramento, we've got Lewis Hall's fully fit now. We've got cover at centre half, so we're fine. As for Bournemouth, well, Enes Ünal, Adam Smith are both out. Ryan Christie and Bafode Diake are expected to be in the squad. But yeah, they're on a good run. They've won 3 of the 4 Premier League games. They've lost the other, which was against Liverpool, but they've got maximum points against Wolves, against Brighton, and against Spurs, who I know push over this season. So it's interesting. They've had a free week as well. They've not had a game this week. They got knocked out of the Carabao Cup in the second round by Brentford. So all in all, it's a tough one after the Champions League, but I'm still very confident going into this game that Newcastle will get something.
The Premier League doesn't get any easier, Teddy boy, as you're finding out week to week now, mate. But Newcastle coming off a Champions League defeat to Barcelona, as Steve said, at home, but now having to travel to Bournemouth, mate, who are flying at the moment. Obviously, 3 of the last 4 sitting in 4th. These are the games that obviously Newcastle would want to be taking 3 points because they're currently sitting in 10th, haven't had the greatest start in the Premier League, only winning their first game last week. But obviously Newcastle, like Steve said, are going to want to remain in the Champions League. And to do that, they're going to need to start taking 3 points. But Bournemouth as well, mate, even though they lost their 4 defensive, the best players from last season, all leaving the club, which you can't believe, one to Real Madrid and Daniel Houston, and just absolutely scenes at Bournemouth. But they're still a quality squad. And as Steve said, very, very well managed. It's going to be a tough afternoon for Newcastle at Bournemouth.
Yeah, they're not just well managed; they're well run. The way that they've replaced their entire back four, it's been really, really well, just brilliant work all round from the recruitment team. It's outstanding what they've done. They're right up there, putting in very good performances. Semenyo, obviously Sunderland fans know all about him. We had him on loan when he was a young'un when we were in League One, and to see the way he's improved his game is just, I mean, it's testimony to hard work and determination and graft, and he deserves all the plaudits he gets. He's a wonderful player to watch. I love watching him because it's not just one of these like sort of your fancy Dan tippy tappy runs that he does. This lad is powerful. He's a proper old fashioned winger. Really, he's just an absolute powerhouse. Can score great goals as well. He's got that in his locker, but it's right through their team. The centre back whose name has gone through Dikite. Yeah. It was Sunderland were linked with a move for him. He went to Bournemouth instead, and you can kind of see why. They're a bit of a head turner because they play good stuff, very, very well organised, and I'm glad Steve pointed out the manager as well, because I don't think he gets enough plaudits from the press. I think the job he's doing there goes under the radar so much, and I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Bournemouth get into some sort of European spot this season. If they can maintain what they've got now, and it looks to all intents and purposes like they can, then the sky's the limit for them. They're down south as well, which means attracting players is that little bit easier, as all 3 of us know that can be quite a tricky thing, being up in the cold, harsh northeast. He says, sitting, all right, fair enough. No, but listen, Newcastle have got to get down to business, and this is testimony to where you want to be as a club. You've got to come off the back and dust yourselves off after a good performance against a top European side in Barcelona. You've got to quickly kind of like drop all that. Yes, it was exciting, and you've got to get down to brass tacks and look at these games, because Bournemouth are going to be up there challenging for those spots this season. So it's massively important that you go down there and come away with a minimum of a draw, which obviously Newcastle have definitely got that in their locker and more. But these can be banana skin games, as we know. They've got to be on their guard. With not having a game this week, there'll be that extra bit of sharpness from Bournemouth. A very, very good squad that they're starting to build there. But it's going to be an interesting one. You've got to win these games, Steve, if they want to be back there in the Champions League next season. I was going to say Championship next season. I'm sure that won't happen.
Steve, obviously, just before we quickly move on to Sunderland versus Aston Villa, Anthony Elunga coming off a little bit early in that Champions League fixture. Do you think that was with an eye on the Bournemouth game? I mean, I would expect Anthony Elunga to be one of the main assets without Anthony Gordon travelling down to Bournemouth, but I think Elunga can obviously run right against a new Bournemouth defence. I think it's going to be telling for him.
Yeah, I think it was a precaution. I think Eddie's bedding him in slowly. He put him in at the start of the season, but he's taken him out, and Murphy's got in. Murphy is nursing an Achilles issue, and that's why he didn't start the game against Barcelona. But I think with Elanga, I think it's just time management and getting him used to the high press and getting him used to the way that Newcastle play. I said earlier, we saw the best of them against Barcelona, and if you put Wissa or Valdemar on the end of those crosses that Elanga put in the other night, the back of the net's going to be bulging. So it's why I came away very pragmatic from that result. A, it was Barcelona, one of the best teams in the world, and B, I saw enough there to suggest that once we have our forwards firing on all cylinders, Elanga will do the business on that right-hand side. He's an upgrade from Murphy, and he will replace Murphy in due course. And I think the left-hand side, we all know, is Anthony Gordon's to lose. At the moment, Harvey Barnes isn't doing enough to take that, but tomorrow we will have to go with Harvey Barnes on the left because he's a natural left-sided player. But yeah, I genuinely think Elanga was just rested because of that. I think it was just a precaution, and it's about squad rotation because we've now got Bournemouth tomorrow, and then we've got the Carabao Cup on Wednesday against Bradford, and then we've got Arsenal on Sunday as well next week. No, it doesn't let up.
No. Obviously, that is an interesting fixture. We're going to get the predictions off the lads very, very soon. Moving on to Sunderland at home to Aston Villa. This is a tasty affair, this one. Aston Villa sitting second last. Can you believe it? After the season they had last year, where we saw the likes of Marcus Rashford at Aston Villa, are now sitting second bottom, Teddy boy, a position that if you would have predicted at the start of the season that Sunderland would have occupying, but Sunderland floating up high in sixth position, inviting Aston Villa to the Stadium of Light, I would say, as favourites, which is just incredible considering where Aston Villa were at last season and Sunderland in the Championship. But this is a tasty one for me. And it would be a really good test for the Sunderland squad coming up against the likes of Aston Villa.
Yeah, don't let that league position fool you, mate. Aston Villa are a top 10 side at least. They're just in a false position right now, and they will come good. A lot's being made out of them. They haven't scored a goal yet in the Premier League, which that's going to worry some of the fans. But that kind of form doesn't last forever, and Aston Villa will provide a very, very stern test. I think Regis Lebris will have prepared the team in a way that they will expect a reaction from Villa. I think that they'll have been certainly working hard to kind of put this whole dreadful run of form in the past, and that's what they'll be gunning for. They'll see this as an opportunity to get 3 points, absolutely, against a newly promoted side. And if we take form out of the window for a second, everything points to, okay, this might be one where we might be in a little bit of trouble. But as it is right now, that's not really the case. To the point that even the likes of Dan Ballard, Luke O'Nien, who is still sort of getting treatment at this moment in time, Dennis Serkin obviously still out injured as well, they're not being rushed back because of the defensive performances that we've been putting in. Robin Roofs was just absolutely insanely good against Crystal Palace.
I had to. I put him straight in the FPL.
Yeah, he's a different kind of keeper than what we've had for a long time. He reminds me a little bit of Tommy Sorensen, which is a name that Steve probably never ever wants to hear again after saving Shearer's penalty, of course. But he even looks a bit like him. He's very commanding of his box. He comes for crosses. Like I said before, he's very vocal. He's very, very good with his feet as well. He's deceptively good. He can actually play lovely passes into the channels to set wingers away. I think we've got an absolute steal there. So when you start with that, and Mukiele was interviewed during the week just saying like how those defenders actually love playing with him. They want to defend for this keeper because he's he just inspires them, really, for want of a better phrase. He's like I say, they have that sort of big booming voice and coming for crosses. It just gives everybody that little bit extra bit of confidence in the back four. Looking at the back four right now, it's just absolutely unbelievable to see the way they've actually gelled together. Considering I think they had one training session together as a back four before the Crystal Palace game, and to turn in a performance like they did, we are going to be incredibly difficult to break down. That much is evident now. And then you build your side from there. It's all built on defensive resilience. We are not expected to have the ball. Aston Villa is a side who wants to have the ball and play. That suits Sunderland down to the ground. We're a counter-attacking team. Probably the reason that we got away with the 0-0 draw against Crystal Palace is neither team actually likes to have control of the ball. We like to counter-attack. This is a different kind of game, and it might just play into our hands a little bit. Villa aren't blessed with the greatest amount of pace at the back, so I think we can definitely hurt them. It's going to be interesting to see what he does with the front lineup. Because obviously we've got Brian Brobby, who made his first appearance as a sub against Palace. Well, no, that was a Dingra.
Oh, was it? I thought it was Brobby.
Yeah. No, that was a Dingra. He's a character, Simon Adingra, yeah, without a doubt. But mate, I mean, that kid's also just looking better and better every game we see. He's so tricky. He's one of the he's a typical winger where he's playing on the left wing, but he's a right-footed left winger, and you expect the cutting in and having a shot like what we used to have with Jack Clark as well, and Romain Mundle as well to a degree. But this kid has actually he just keeps the fullbacks guessing all the time. And I really like that about him. He puts a bit of doubt into their play. Yeah, so listen, we've got enough going forward. Our midfield is it's the impenetrable fortress at the minute, because Xhaka has brought something to our football club that we just haven't seen for years. His standard is just exceptional. And what he expects of the people around him is nothing short of 110%, and that's what you need. He's a much more vocal captain than what we've had in a long time. Yeah, it's a hark back to the days of Kevin Ball, who we had as skipper, of just driving a standard and making sure everybody is absolutely on their game, and literally just being an extension of the manager on the pitch. And he just brings so much positive professional attitude. You can't help but be inspired by the guy. So as much as Villa are going to be a tough test, mate, we're starting to get the look of a squad that can actually go places and give these teams a good game.
It's going to be incredible to watch. Obviously, Steve, 12 months ago, mate, if I had have said to you that next season you're going to see Sunderland in the Premier League, let alone that, but also at the time that Sunderland take on Aston Villa at the Stadium of Light, Sunderland will be 6th in the Premier League and Aston Villa will be second bottom. I mean, it's an incredible way to start. Obviously, early days in the Premier League, but this is a real good test for Sunderland against Aston Villa, who are arguably, going to want to start firing pretty quickly.
I mean, if you'd said Sunderland would be in the Premier League, I would have thought you'd started drinking heavily, right? I mean, true. Genuinely. But joking aside, I think, listen, it's a good opportunity again for Sunderland. I mean, it was El Alamo at Crystal Palace. Their goalkeeper had an absolute blinder. That's what that tweet was about, of course. And Sunderland really came away, and the fans who are down there, I'm sure, will say we got away with one. They're going to need to pick up the performance against Aston Villa, because Ted's right. Aston Villa won't be down at the bottom for long. Unai Emery's a world-class manager, and he has, unfortunately, found himself in the same position that Newcastle found themselves in after they didn't qualify for the Champions League. It's awful. It's what PSR does to teams who are successful. It punishes them for being successful, and that is where Villa are at the moment. But they've got some good players, and it's going to be a test for Villa, because they are on the crest of a slump at the minute. Coming to the Stadium of Light, and if the Sunderland fans can do what they normally do for big games, and if they can fill the place and get it bouncing, they need an early goal. And if Sunderland get an early goal, the world's an oyster. At the moment, it's a confidence thing, and Sunderland's got a load of confidence, and they will be looking They will be looking first and foremost to hit 40 points. That's what they'll be doing. That'll be their first benchmark. But we've already heard from Ted on the show, that's not the aim. That they're aiming higher. They want to finish high in the table. They don't want to be fourth bottom. They want to be finishing in the top 10 if they can. And it's quite evident that there's a confidence going through the Sunderland team at the minute. But this is another tough game, and Premier League, it's relentless. Tough games come thick and fast, and that's where we're at the moment with this particular game. They are misfiring up front, but that will change. I would imagine that will change today. I can't see Villa not scoring. Tomorrow I can't see Villa not scoring, but. Yeah, it's all down to Sunderland really, but they've got to play better than they did last week. Otherwise, I think Villa will get their nose in front, and it'll be difficult to break them down.
Can I ask you just quickly before we obviously go around and get the predictions? Unai Emery obviously down at second last. You talked about the PSR missing out on Champions League thanks to Man United and all that sort of saga. Is Unai Emery under threat? I mean, we see the likes of Graham Potter and the Wolves manager obviously around him. Wolves manager signing a new 3-year deal yesterday as well. I don't know what you're thinking, Wolves, but obviously Unai Emery with Aston Villa. Do you think his job's under threat? Say that we see a dominant performance from Sunderland tomorrow, Steve. Can Emery still consider himself, in a safe position?
I think he'll get time. Is there a manager in the Premier League who finds themselves in that position ever safe?
True.
It's a lot depends on what's going on behind the scenes. He hasn't had the money to spend this year, and that will be something that he looks at. I guess with disdain and maybe there's been conversations behind the scenes. But in situations like this, the chairman, the board will just say, "Well, look, you're the coach. You've got to get the best out of what you've got. You didn't get in the Champions League, so that's it." So he could be, yeah. I still think there's managers who will go before him. It was interesting to see the interview with Rafa Benitez, who of course was at the match on Thursday at St James's Park, saying that he's ready to manage in the Premier League.
Yes.
Whenever Rafa comes out, he's often that then he's looking for a job. So. Yeah. I think Rafa will be looking at the situations at West Ham because he nearly went there after Newcastle, and he will be looking at the situation maybe at Villa as well, and possibly Wolves, and saying, right, well, I can go in and make a change there. I can go and do something there. So I've gone all the way around the houses. Do I think he's under threat? Not at the moment, but I think let's see where Aston Villa are when it comes to November. That could be the time that they may look at it. But he's earned enough, hasn't he? He's got enough in the bank, I think, to stay. But who knows?
Yep. It's going to be a fantastic game. We're going to get the lads' predictions. Obviously, Middlesbrough playing last night. Fantastic performance, remaining top of the league. We did cover that in the first half of the show. But Middlesbrough, obviously, I don't know. This is going to be. We've had such a solid start to the season, but the next 3 games, and I've put this down on just on the whiteboard, lads, is that these next 3 games are so testing because the fixture gods absolutely hate us. I mean, we have to travel next Saturday to Southampton, down the other side of the country. We come back for a midweek game at the Riverside for Stoke, and then we have to go back down to the South Coast to play Portsmouth. I mean, that is a real tough test for any squad, let alone Middlesbrough now testing their squad development their squad.
It's not like you're getting a service bus, right?
It's ridiculous, mate. It's ridiculous, all right? And I'm going to have a word with you, EFL. We need to start looking after your championship leaders. We need a break. Okay, that's too much. Let's get around. Let's get to the predictions from the lads before we start to wrap things up here on Three's a Crowd. Let's talk Sunderland and at home to Aston Villa. We've just covered this off. We've got Unai Emery, who we think is still safe, but he's looking for a firing one. Teddy boy, I'll come to you first, mate. Your lads in your own backyard against Aston Villa. I think this one's really hard to predict.
Yeah, it is. Like what we've already alluded to, Villa aren't going to kind of stick around at the bottom much longer. They can score goals, but then again, so can we. So I think I'll go for an entertaining Desmond 2-2 draw.
Ooh, I'm going to put money on Aston Villa here. I think Aston Villa are going to get just over Sunderland. I think it's going to be a 2-1 victory to Aston Villa. I think it's going to be an entertaining affair. Stevie, how do you see this one playing out at Stadium of Light?
I can't see past a draw on this either. I think a draw, and I think 1-1 draw. I think Villa will score. I think Sunderland they'll get back into it, but I can see Villa scoring first in this and it being a 1-1 draw.
It's going to be very interesting to watch. And if you are at the Stadium of Light, enjoy your Premier League afternoon. Over to Newcastle, who are travelling to Bournemouth. Teddy boy, tough test, obviously coming off that Champions League midweek game, but Newcastle squad depth can't be questioned. Anthony Elanga as well, you think would start. Maybe even the German Peter Crouch up front. How do you see Newcastle, Bournemouth playing out?
Yeah, for all I've spoke about how much I admire Bournemouth, I saw a Newcastle side for the first 35 minutes of that game against Barcelona who looked very, very useful. And I think if they convert those chances, mate, this could be a 3 points away from home and a big 3 points as well. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win for the Geordies. Bournemouth won't be a pushover, but I think there's something about Newcastle at the minute that's starting to click into place. And Peter Crouch, I think, will be on the score sheet as well.
Yeah, no, I think honestly he's made for this game. I think with Anthony Elanga, I'm going to go for a Newcastle victory on this one. I'm going to say 2-0. I think Newcastle are now starting to fire. And I think Bournemouth at home, I mean, even though they are winning good, it's going to be a fantastic affair. Steve, how do you see this one playing out?
I've gone for a draw in this one as well. I think Newcastle will draw down there. It's their favourite result on the South Coast, and I think I think Newcastle will see the big number 27 score again. I think he'll continue his Premier League run. But yeah, I think 1-1. I think Bournemouth are good enough to get something out of this game, and I think Semenyo likes to score against Newcastle. But yeah, I'm going to go 1-1, lads.
Wow.
Is that a tactical draw there, Steve? Because we both said a win.
Yeah, I did predict 1-1. I always give my prediction on the Super Matt and Gibbo show on a Thursday, so I can't be accused of doing that. And I do think we'll beat Bradford on Wednesday. By the way, I think Newcastle
it is. Yeah, I was going to talk about that as well. I do apologise. We have got a midweek game for the Premier League. I mean, do you think obviously you're going to play a second string squad come Carabao with the fixtures coming thick and fast?
Yeah, I think we'll see the likes of Asula and Miley. Yeah. Ramsdale get a run out on Wednesday. And I just think what Malcolm McDonald said on our show on Thursday was great. He says, you know what I would do next week? He says, no matter who they play, he says, take that trophy into the dressing room, stick it on the seat in front of the lads and say, this is yours to lose. He says, that's all you need to do next week. He says, because it's our cup, he says, with the defending champions. Yep. And he said, he says, that's what we need to imply to the squad. He says, the squad should have pride in that and they should want to go and win it again. So he says, that's what I would do. But yeah, I think we'll win. I think it'll be good to see a few of the lads blow a few of the cobwebs off. It'll be great to see Ramsdale. I got to watch him for the warm up the other day, and he's exceptional in the warm up. So let's see what they're like next week. But yeah, I think they'll get through, no problem.
What do you think, Teddy boy? Just quickly, mate. Newcastle midweek Carabao Cup defending champions. They've got an easier affair, you would argue, but no games are easy when it comes to Carabao Cup. No. But I think it's going to be interesting. We can talk about them all day long. Amaron saying not even the Pope could help him change tactics. Well, you're going to need someone bigger than the Pope soon, Amaron. It's getting that ugly.
Listen, Bradford are one of those sides though in the League Cup that can they're just an annoying lower league side that can really put you through your paces on your day. I'm going to make a wild prediction that Newcastle will go through, but I think it'll be on penalties.
Oh, penalties for Ramsdale. That's going to be an interesting week. That is all we got time for here on Three's a Crowd. We have covered all three teams. Amazing victory last night for Middlesbrough. Sunderland to take on Aston Villa at home tomorrow. We've gotten our predictions. Newcastle travelling to Bournemouth. If you are travelling from a Newcastle fan point of view, travel safely. Enjoy your afternoon. Enjoy the home game at Stadium of Light. We have got a midweek game as well. We'll be back next Saturday to talk everything Middlesbrough, Sunderland and Newcastle, as we do always. Make sure you like and consider subscribing to the three channels. It is bye from us for now. Have a fantastic rest of your Saturday.
Three's a Crowd podcast will return. That's not a threat, it's a promise.